Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, which will look at how housing providers can remain agile and resilient in the face of uncertainty. I'm Martin Hilditch, Deputy Editor of Inside Housing magazine, and the aim is for today's session, organised with IT Solutions, to deliver advice and answers for landlords operating in a volatile world. In a few moments' time, I'll be introducing our fantastic panellists and talking through the technical ins and outs of today's session. But I'll set things up by talking a little bit about the environment that providers are operating in. Business transformation has, of course, been a focus for social landlords in recent years. The changing landscape has meant that they have needed to adapt to survive. The future looks no less stable. Political and economic uncertainty is rife, with Brexit around the corner and manoeuvring at the top of the Conservative Party, meaning the political direction of travel is not necessarily something to be counted on in the medium to longer term. Social landlords don't yet have certainty about rent policy after 2020, and the current 1% a year cut has clearly had an impact on business planning. Welfare reforms are also set to bite harder over the next few years. The tragic fire and loss of life in the Grenfell Tower disaster will also rightly bring change in its wake. Of course, there is also the ongoing housing crisis and demographic changes that are likely to feed into this. Housing providers will need to develop their resilience so they can respond. So no pressure on our panellists, but this webinar is designed to provide some of the answers and share thinking. It will look at everything from tips for forward planning to how the latest advances in technology can help them future-proof their businesses. So there's a huge amount for our panel to get stuck into this morning. We've assembled an expert group with a range of practical experience to help answer these challenges. In a few seconds, we'll be kicking things off with Neil Charlton, Head of IT with Vivid. Next up is Amina Graham, Executive Director, Corporate Services with RHP. Then we'll be hearing from Carol Galsworthy, Director of ICT and Business Improvement with Houghton Housing Trust. And last but not least, we'll be hearing insight from Ben Folds, Solutions Consultant with IT Solutions. Right, like I was saying, in terms of how the webinar works, we'll be hearing from our panel in just a few seconds, but in terms of the audience, we'd ask you to, this is your chance to ask questions, get the answers that you want and or relevant to you in your work. So please keep questions coming in via the questions box throughout the presentations, and our panelists will answer as we go along, and then we'll have get to a question and answer session following those presentations, which I'll pick up on some of those questions as well. So that's roughly how we're going to work today, but please keep those questions coming in. Right, without further ado, I'd like to kick things off in style with Neil Charlton from Vivid.
Thank you, Martin, and good afternoon, everyone. As Martin said, I'm Neil Charlton. I'm the Head of IT for Vivid, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we're using technology at Vivid to remain agile and resilient. Just waiting for the presentation to appear. Thanks. So, I think Martin covered a number of challenges that the sector is facing right now, and I think we're all relatively well aware of these. The need to become efficient at the same time as continuing to provide much needed affordable housing amongst the biggest challenges that we have, and at the same time we're trying to continue to meet our customers' expectation, deal with consumer digitalization, and also attract and retain the best staff that we can. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how Vivid are responding to some of these challenges. But first of all, who are Vivid? So Vivid, relatively new association, new organisation. We're just a few days over 5 months old, and we were formed in April of this year following the merger of First Wessex and Sentinel Housing Associations. We're Hampshire-based. We have about 30,000 homes, 70,000 customers, and around 1,000 staff. In terms of technology, any merger clearly presents challenges, but picking up the two organisations' strategies and roadmaps shows a great deal of similarity. And although few key systems are the same, in terms of plans to consolidate, to reduce down the number of systems, to simplify, to remove unnecessary systems, to remove integration and complexity, and to leverage return on investment and maximise use in existing systems, there's actually a lot of similarity. Also, making better use of information, business intelligence for decision making was also a key priority for both. I'm just going to talk a little bit more about where Vivid is in terms of digital, cloud, mobile, and also our approach to flexible working and innovation. So firstly, digital, going into digital, I think as a sector, apart from a few trailblazers, a few very early adopters who have gone further and faster than the majority, I think as a sector, we pretty much lagged behind in terms of digital. Even looking at local authorities who had cuts to their income several years ago, you would find that local authorities, you could go onto a local authority website and raise issues, make payments, report potholes, street lights, etc., and access services in a way that you haven't been able to do with housing associations for some time. And we recognised, the old First Wessex part of Vivid recognised around 8 years ago that the benefits of digital were definitely there, and we had our first portal around that time. It was very basic. You could see, residents could see rent payments, they could see the balance, and they could pretty much send us a message, but it would only come through as an email. It wasn't particularly integrated. And since that time, we've added more and more functionality. And in April of this year, following a development partnership with Orchard, our housing management system provider, and 2 other housing associations, we launched the latest version of our residents' self-service portal. And the key aim of this for us was to provide self-appointing repairs. When we looked at the reasons residents were contacting us, aside from rent, one of the next highest reason was to report repairs. And in the previous portal, although you could go through a diagnostic process and you could tell us that you needed a repair, we would then try and contact you to make an appointment. And that may obviously take a day or two before we pin down. We might play cat and mouse with email for a while before we did that. So we recognised the need for the resident to not only raise their repair, but also book an appointment of their choosing. So this new portal was very much aimed at that. And what we did is we looked at what other functionality we could introduce at the same time. We recognised the need to deliver this to mobile devices because that's what the majority of our residents were using. And we recognised the need to make this really simple and really easy to use, but very robust. If it doesn't work, our residents are not going to come back and try and use it again. So not only does it do self-appointing repairs, but you can raise a direct debit. And again, I think most of us will say that yes, you can raise a direct debit with most of the other organisations and companies that you deal with. So why shouldn't you expect to raise a direct debit with your landlord? And it does a number of other things. It removes transactional services where we can. So the need to telephone us to tell us that you want to terminate, a request to make an improvement, or to report or update instances of antisocial behaviour, they add no value. If you ring into our contact centre just to tell us a piece of information or just to request a form, there's no value to us or to the resident in that process really, and it's probably relatively expensive. So we're looking to replace transactional processing where we can. And our new portal enables us to do that. We have nearly 8,000 residents registered on our portal, and we know that just over 7,000 of these accessed our account in the quarter, April to June of this year, with over 28,000 visits to our portal in total. And at the same time, we've seen a reduction in calls into our contact centre by around 10%. Calls into our contact centre are already relatively low due to some of the other things that we'd already adopted, for example, an automated payment line. And this was introduced around 3 years ago. It was to tackle issues around payment card industry compliance, but also because we recognised that around 10% of our calls were people calling in to make payments. And we knew with the introduction of universal credit that the likelihood is people would make probably smaller but more frequent payments. So we were left with a challenge of, do we bring more staff in, or do we look at technology to help us with this? So our payment line reduced calls by around 12% into our contact centre, but also had a number of other benefits because it meant residents could pay at any time of the day and night that they wanted. It was a fully automated and, as I say, PCI compliant solution. We've also introduced text messaging, again fully integrated with our housing management system. Going back, if you raise a repair, you will get a text message just confirming those details. But the text message also does more than that. So we notify the resident 2 days before we visit. You know, it's very expensive if we go to a property and the resident's not in and we have to leave a card if we don't attend the visit. So we give an opportunity, obviously, for the resident to say, obviously, they're not going to be there. We can rebook that appointment. But the resident can also text us with some keywords like balance. They can receive their balance. They can request a callback. And for us as an organisation, we can communicate with registered residents by telling them things like their lift is out in a block or other maintenance issues. And it's also replaced our low-level arrears letters. So we no longer send letters where we can just request a payment and say what the balance is. Going back to consolidating and simplification and leveraging benefits of existing technology, in our telephony system, it can not only route calls and provide automated messages for telephone calls, but can do the same for email. So we've introduced email routing where if a resident emails us, it can look for keywords and it can either provide an automated response or it can go one step further. So if the email contains words like fence or fencing, we can actually provide some relative information about fence panels that might have been blown down or what the responsibility is for the landlord and the resident. It also enables us to put some templates in place and offer consistency, so we can very quickly reply to emails. If we get a range of inquiries and repeat inquiries, we can obviously put responses in place very quickly. And I think more generally, we've tried to adopt a paper-light culture. So we haven't gone with paperless because we think this sets the wrong expectations, and quite often we find that paper is actually the right tool for the job. But where possible, we've gone a paper-light route. So we've replaced paper flowing between individuals or teams where we can with online forms, or actually just direct access to that information in systems themselves. So other than digital, I think where else we've gone with technology is we've adopted a cloud-first approach to our IT strategy. And for this, cloud is a range of things for us. One of our preferences is software as a service. So we've looked at applications that can be delivered by providers where we don't have to save those applications or store those applications and the data on our own IT infrastructure. And this has given us a range of benefits because not only is that a cost saving in direct IT, but also it generally improves the accessibility and availability of those applications as well. Some of the examples here are our HR and payroll system, where we're able to provide our maintenance operatives and our field-based staff access to that system without them having to come into an office and log in via a Citrix session or desktop. We've done other applications. We've gone software as a service, so we've gone our asset management system, we've gone our performance management system, and others as well. We're also making use of Office 365, so next version of Microsoft, the Office Suite. Again, a range of benefits. Not only is it an upgrade in the functionality of those applications, but also it means it can be accessed by any web application and comes with a number of other benefits such as SharePoint, OneDrive, OneNote, and Yammer, and I'll come on to those in a minute as well. And then in terms of the infrastructure that we've got, we've taken that to a third-party data center in a what's known as a colo solution. So the management of that infrastructure and in terms of the backup and the disaster recovery, all of that has been handed over to the third party. And there's significant cost benefits in that. It not only enables us to remove the need for server rooms on site, but it also increases the performance and the availability of that because we know that these organizations that we've gone with are using high-end equipment and servers, and they're able to provide it at performance which meets our requirements. We're also moving more and more into public cloud, the Azure, Microsoft Azure platform, again, trying to consolidate, stay with single suppliers where we can, and we're making more and more use of Azure. And we will see our disaster recovery using Azure Site Recovery and our backups also move into Azure as we further continue our consolidation approach. In terms of mobile, we've done a wide range of things with mobile. We had our maintenance operatives mobile around 10 years ago, 2007, and since then we've been expanding our use of mobile technology more and more. Our operations staff use a fully integrated solution to our housing management system, and they're able to access all of the information they need from a tablet device. We've also created a range of mobile applications and forms, over 20 in total, and these are things that range from health and safety inspections to applications for our grounds and caretaking staff so that they can record time, use of chemicals, pesticides, equipment that might cause hand-arm vibration. And all in all, we've tried to integrate with the housing management system or reduce the need for any paper data entry or things moving around, so information goes direct from the handout, from the mobile device into our back office systems. We also use devices in our offices, our iPads, laptops, and we've been able to replace things like our board and committee papers. And once those people have got those devices, again leveraging the benefits, maximising the use in technology, joining that up with things like Office 365, we've been able to give OneNote, OneDrive, Office 365 apps, Yammer, all onto those devices. So pretty much what we do is anywhere we've got a mobile device and we've got an application, we see what that application works like on a mobile device and try and provide it in that way. One of the key things that we did is we tried to address an issue around communication with our maintenance staff, and we found that by giving them Yammer, which was an application we already owned, it came free with our Office 365 subscription, our operatives are able to communicate with our back office staff and the rest of our organisation in a very, very quick and easy way. They access the app, they can post pictures of the work they're doing, they can comment on it, and they can just engage generally. And staff in the back office just love seeing their work, you know, whether it's grounds maintenance work they've been doing or a new build property or whatever it is, it's had huge benefits to the morale of the organisation. Building on from mobile working, flexible working. So our adoption of flexible working has enabled us to reduce down the number of offices that we've got by increasing our use of mobile working, and then internally in our offices adopting flexible working. We've been able to see those benefits and achieve significant savings. The remaining offices have been completely refurbished, and we've adopted a number of other things. So we've removed manning our reception areas. We have virtual receptionists where staff can register a visitor, or visitors into the office can announce themselves and someone will come to see them, but we don't need to man our receptions. In terms of our office refurbishment, we've carried through the themes of if you're a mobile worker, you need to be able to charge your device. So we've put USB charging points on every desk. We've also gone with Windows Micro PCs because what we're seeing is our use of Citrix, which is expensive in terms of licensing, and the hardware that's required. We've seen our use of that reduce as we adopt these software as a service applications. And we go with things like Office 365. You no longer need to connect into Citrix to be able to use those applications. We've put a large 27-inch high-quality monitor on every desk, and this just means that there's no preference of desks. So previously, we would have had some dual screens, some 19-inch monitors, some wide screens, and staff would have obviously always probably headed towards a dual screen or a wide screen. But by making them all the same, staff get the same experience everywhere. We've upgraded our Wi-Fi and our data network to support mobile use within the offices, so staff can pick up their laptops, their iPad, they can walk into different areas, they don't have to work at a desk. We've got flexible working spaces, so they can go into a booth or a pod or a touchdown point or any of our meeting rooms, and they can throw up what's on their screen onto the screens in the meeting rooms. They can share things like agendas, presentations with their staff. And we've tried to make our offices really technology enabled. So things like meeting room booking systems have been hugely popular. It just means that you can check for a meeting, you can walk up to a meeting room, see if it's in use, you can check into it or see what else might be available if that one's not. And generally our approach is about modernization, better ways of working, and a digital shift, as you can see with the technology enabling all of those things. So in summary really of those last three aspects, I think what we've adopted is technology where we've tried to provide the right tool for the job and to be paper-light where we can. We've tried to move unnecessary processing. We've adopted things like lean reviews to kind of strip out waste where we can. But we've tried to make sure that the technology is right for the job, and that's key because people need the information to be as good as they possibly can be. We also haven't looked for huge changes in every case. In some cases, we've just adopted a 1% or a small increase. So going back to our telephony system, you know, that comes with a mobile app. And so what we've done is we've rolled out that mobile app to every one of our corporate devices, and it just means that you can use your mobile device as if you were in the office. You can divert your calls. You can route to another phone from your landline. You can set up conference calls, you can access the directory, and it's just a small improvement, very easy to do, absolutely no cost, and it's just made a difference to the working of staff. And generally our approach is to join things up. So if staff have got a mobile device, if we've got an application, let's look for an app that will work on that device. If we've got solutions available to us, so Office 365 coming with OneDrive, we've got a construction company who need to share documents. Well, we can give them OneDrive, they can do that. It's cost effective for us. It don't need another solution. And again, it consolidates us with Microsoft. And our culture supports our technology. So we haven't tried to tell everyone how to do everything with an application. So when we rolled out Yammer, we gave no guides, we gave no instruction how to use it, because what we found from previous rollouts was that staff would only use it in the way that we've given as examples. And what we wanted to do was enable staff to use it how they wanted to, so they could find the innovation for themselves. And we also don't train everybody on everything that we do. So we offer training. Training is available, but in the same way as we know our staff will learn how to use Facebook, they'll learn how to use eBay or Amazon. They will learn how to use our applications. And we can teach them the best way to do that, but we don't need to train them on everything that we do. We want them to think for themselves. And really what's next for us, and where are we in terms of innovation? Well, our head of innovation will probably scream at me for saying this, but our approach to innovation is to horizon scan, to continually be aware of what other organizations are doing with some of the technologies that I've listed there. Not just within our sector, but externally as well. We need to know what big businesses are doing, those with contact centers of thousands of staff rather than the tens of staff that we might have, and how they're using things like artificial intelligence and robotics and chatbots, and how they might employ those. And whilst we won't necessarily be the first, where we want to be is a very, very early adopter. We want to find the benefits of those systems, make a case for them, and get them in very quickly. If there's benefits to be realised, obviously we want to be on that very quickly. So that's it from me. If that was okay and useful, and I'll take any questions through the chat. Thank you.
Very, very useful. Thanks very much, Neil. Much appreciated. Amina, it's over to you. And if you wouldn't mind sticking to the 7 or 8 minutes, that would be good, just so we've got some time for questions at the end. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Hi everyone, just waiting for the slides to load, and hopefully I'll give you a whistle-stop tour of how we've modernised our business to become more agile in what is an ever-changing world. So very quickly, who are we? We're based in southwest London. We are 17 years old. We're one of the top performing housing associations in the sector. We've got the highest credit rating in the sector. We've topped the innovation index in housing for the last 2 years, and we were ranked as the best place to work in the UK in 2016. When our world changed, like everybody else on the call, after the summer budget in 2015, as an exec group, we wanted to go back to our first principles and think about our purpose and what we cared about, because we recognised this would help us to navigate through uncertainty and make tough decisions quickly in what was an ever-changing world. And the 3 things we really care about are our people, both customers and employees, our customers, and we've got a passion to be one of the best service providers in the UK, and our culture. We want to create a great place to work, which is innovative and on the edge, and people have fun as well as do amazing things. So as an exec team, we asked ourselves after the budget the big question: can we radically cut the cost of our landlord service and still provide a better customer experience? Why did we do that? Well, we wanted to play our part in building more affordable homes more quickly. We got that the government saw housing associations were part of the problem, not part of the solution, and we really wanted to change that and show we could be part of the solution, which meant we would need to think differently and act differently. So what did we do? Well, we developed our master plan, and that was all around simplifying our business and operating model, modernising our landlord service, making use of technology that's available to customers anytime, any place, any device, and is so simple to use. We use the goldfish challenge of any customer can access and have started to use one of our services within 7 seconds. And what that meant for us is we wanted to design and develop digital services that were so good our customers could choose them as their preferred channel. And we had a strong foundation, so from 2011 our customers could book a repairs appointment online, make a payment and chat to us. And we really wanted to get the channel shift away from what is still a phone-centric sector. We wanted to position the website as our core product. We wanted that real emphasis on self-service. We wanted to eradicate inefficiency, and we wanted to deliver a lower cost of contact. So we had big numbers in our sites. Currently, the operating cost per unit of the 72 London-based housing associations is 5,478. And our target is to drive that down to below 3,000 by 2020. And we're doing an okay job. We're around 3,490 per property as of the end of last year. We wanted a great customer experience, so we measured that by customer saying we're easy to do business with, and we want to be at least 80%, and we want to be there within the next 12 to 18 months. By doing those things and simplifying our business whilst maintaining strong financial capability, we want to invest £250 million, which will enable us to build at least 2,000 homes over the next 8 years. So some big numbers for us, and a real drive and ambition and passion to make sure that everything we did was connected back to releasing this and moving forward. So in terms of modernising the landlord service, there are 4 key characteristics. We wanted to deliver a good quality home for 5 years at an affordable rent. We wanted a new approach to repairs and maintenance. We wanted a fully digital housing service, and we wanted to have a new relationship with our tenants. So taking those each in turn, in terms of the good quality home, we wanted to give our customers the option to renew at the end of the tenancy, and we wanted to do things that would help us to move people through social housing, because we saw that as the biggest contribution we could make to the local community. In terms of rethinking around repairs and maintenance, we wanted to design a service that gave our customers a great place to live, that minimised really expensive reactive repairs. So we will invest at the point of relet, and those components would last for 5 years. And we wanted that work to be guaranteed and underwritten by our repairs contractor. We'd already had a lot of success with delivering online services, but we really wanted to ensure that we were available 24/7, 365, by having a service that was so good it could respond to the majority of our customers' needs. And it was super easy to use, fast and convenient, and even today people can book a repair in as little as 3 clicks, and that's choosing their appointment slot as well. But we recognise that there is a proportion of our customers that are non-digital, so there would be help for those that needed it. And in terms of a new relationship with tenants, we really want to break the dependency culture, which we think is prevalent in social housing, and have a more grown-up relationship with tenants. That means, in our world, we want tenants to take responsibility for day-to-day things. We look after the big stuff, and we do expect them to pay their rent, carry out simple repairs, get on with their neighbours, and look after their home. If they do all of that and they're ready to move on at the end of their 5-year tenancy, we'll give them a helping hand up and a £1,000 cash back. And all the way through designing our services and simplifying them, we wanted to ensure that we were never trading off quality for cost. So our core services are all about delivering really good homes at affordable rent, easy, quick to use services. We will support more complex issues through web chat and through messaging services. And we wanted to free up our people's time so they could focus on the most important things. Because when you think about housing, it's around enabling people to pay their rent, doing a gas service check, booking a repair when they need it. That's over 50% of all the contact I suspect most organisations have. How we lower our costs is intelligent use of technology, having a strategy that enables quick channel shift, and our aim is always to design our digital services that are so good our customers, once they've used them, will always want to use them as their preferred contact method with us. And that enables us to put a real emphasis on self-service, and we look a lot about what more could we help customers to do for themselves to allow us to eradicate inefficiency in how we deliver services and get to that lower cost of contact. Being agile and being responsive requires a different type of workforce, and we recognised we had great people and we wanted to take people with us on our journey and to help them be the best they could be and have the skills available and required in a modern world. So we always kept people at the heart of our strategy. We simply believe great people deliver great service. But we did go very quickly from having siloed teams. We had 15 siloed teams, and in 3 months, through great conversations rather than consultation, we were able to move to 6 bigger teams with people taking on different roles, more generic roles, and being trained and upskilled to do that in a way they felt confident. At RHP, we've always described jobs on one page, and so decision-making, confidence and judgment skills are things that are really important to us. And right at the start of the recruitment stage, that enables people to decide if RHP is right for them, as well as us deciding if they're right for us. We made a commitment after the budget in 2015 that we wouldn't make mass redundancies, and we would support our people to go through the journey, achieving the headcount reductions through natural turnover, and we were really clear about that. So when I think about employee engagement, I think about the 3B model, bricks, bytes and behaviours. Bricks about providing a modern and great place for people to work. Bytes about giving them the right technology so they can be brilliant at the point of service delivery, and customers never ever have to repeat themselves or swap channel to get a resolution, and thinking about those behaviours and skills that we need to be successful and deliver our strategy. So we updated our behaviour and skills framework as well. So we're doing okay, I would say. Against our big goals, we want 80% of our transactions done online by year end. We're around 60% now. At the end of September, that's already moved to 70%. We want to get to 75% of our customers saying we're easy to do business with. Our latest scores are around 72%. And against that target of having a sub 3,000 operating cost per unit, at the end of last year we were at 3,496. We think this year will be around 3,300. What we found is the vast majority of our customers and our employees like our new service. We've definitely not had any significant complaints. We've seen it appeal to people across the generations and across the demographic mix. It's still early days, but we know it's working, and we've driven down our cost per contact. So the 2 things, as I set out at the start of the presentation, is it better and is it cheaper, we have a laser focus on. The challenges that we've had along the way is it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a joined up approach. It's not easy. We've done all of the easy stuff now, so we're into that difficult stuff. You have to invest in great technology, because if the user experience, whether that's customer or employee, is bad at the start, getting them to go back to that channel is incredibly difficult. So making it easy for our employees to do business with us as well as our customers is really important to us. We've got safeguards in place to protect the most vulnerable and those that aren't digitally enabled, and we keep that on our radar because we know it's important that all of our customers can access our services. and there's still lots more to do. We're learning all the time, but we're accelerating, and we talk a lot about how we develop minimum viable products, how we iterate quickly, and we reflect that back in how we performance manage our people, moving from annual appraisals to quarterly sprints with key objectives and results. The icing on the cake for us is we're on a good journey. We're confident we can go further, but this will enable us to build thousands of affordable new homes. We're doing some exciting work with L&G at the moment in terms of looking at modular-based construction and factory-based construction, that will mean we can deliver new homes quicker and cheaper. And we also want to expand the range of homes we deliver, so we're not only dealing with those on the social waiting list, but we've got a product for those on the intermediate list, people that don't qualify for social housing but can't actually afford to get into the private market. So we want to build more homes, build them quickly, build them at lower cost, and build them at high quality. And actually, to bring that to life for our people, we've actually put one of our pods in the back garden of our office, so our customers, our employees, and our key stakeholders can get a sense of what is possible and the reality of making those things happen. What we see through the relationship with L&G and designing a modular product is quality checking is quicker and easily. You can spot defects at the point of production and put them right. It gives you much greater certainty of timing because you're using simplified and standardized processes. There's less disruption to the community where you're developing because a lot of it is done off-site. The new builds are much more energy efficient, and that enables the customers who get those properties to have lower energy costs. And it does really help us to get to our ambition, which is have defect-free products with lower ongoing maintenance costs. And with the advent of battery power and solar panel power now, we're closer than we've ever been to having battery homes which don't require gas or electricity, and that will unlock a whole lot of capacity for lots of organisations. So we've come a long way. It's been an exciting journey. For us, it's only just begun, and we're so excited about the art of the possible going forward.
Thanks very much. Again, plenty of food for thought and lots to get into. There are quite a few questions that are popping up. I think we're going to struggle to get through all of them verbally, so if people can make sure they're looking at the question and answer panel and answering some of those questions as we go, that would be absolutely great. And yeah, quite a few from that session just there. So thanks very much. Carol, it's over to you.
Okay, brilliant. Afternoon, everybody. Again, I'll just wait for the slides to come through. I think some of what I'll say is probably very similar to what Neil and Amina have already said, so I'll try to whiz through those. There we go. So our strategy is around digital first, is what our strategy is called. Oh, hang on, I don't seem to have. Oh, there we go. Oh, hang on, went too far. So really, I just want to go through a bit of the background, reasons why we've done what we've done, what have we actually done, and some of the outcomes and the benefits so far. In terms of background, again, similar, I think, to something Neil was just saying, prior to September 2014, really, we had a minimal digital offer, which had no automation. It was an email back to our customer services team, who then contacted the customer. And we also were in a position where we were promoting our most expensive options for customers to contact us, which at the time were right, but going forward we needed to revisit, and that was obviously face-to-face visits and visits into our reception area. The main reason for our digital first strategy was that our target was that at the time, this was before the rent cuts, but at the time that universal credit would have a net nil impact on the business. What we meant by that was a net nil impact from a cost perspective and a headcount perspective. Our digital first strategy was never around reduction of headcount. It was all about moving those transactional costs And the graph on the right-hand side of the slide there was around, we knew with universal credit and subsequent changes that the number of transactions with us were going to go up, which was the green line. So we needed our cost per transaction to come down so that our average cost could remain pretty much the same. So there's a number of reasons for our digital strategy, which these next couple of slides will kind of go through. There was the social implications of going digital. Everyone's, there's a lot around transactions, there's a lot around cutting costs, but actually there's a number of other reasons for going digital. One of which is social inclusion, particularly for vulnerable customers. And from our work so far, the stats kind of speak for themselves there. But in terms of the social inclusion of customers and employees was important to us. The delivery, again, both Amina and Neil have both mentioned that being able to access things 24/7, 365, the right information, the right place, the right time, the right device, that was really, really critical to us as well. And our approach does include providing customers with devices, which I'll come back to later. And our aim was to have 90% of our customer-led transactions online by 2018, which isn't that far away. It's quite scary, but again, I'll come back to where we're up to with that. Another couple of reasons why we wanted to take a digital-first approach was obviously around that transactional cost. We knew in person for us was at least £15, telephone was at least £4, online 90p there, but is coming down quickly, and we needed to free up those savings so that we could refocus the resources where they needed to be within the business, which was around collecting rent, supporting vulnerable customers, and supporting customers with digital inclusion itself. So we wanted to free up that transactional cost to reinvest elsewhere in the business. As I said, it wasn't about headcounts and savings. Again, I think Neil mentioned it very early in his presentation. There is an expectation that we can do things online. We all do it in our daily lives, and why should our customers and our colleagues be any different? We're used to being able to bank online, we're used to be able to shop online, so why shouldn't our customers be able to transact with us as housing associations online? And the last two reasons really, are we playing? I'm going seem to have we've done it again. The last two reasons really were around, as I say, freeing up resources so that we could concentrate on those customers that really needed our help, or where we needed to collect and support following universal credit changes. And obviously, as a business, the sixth reason was about protecting our income, because without our income, we wouldn't function as a business. And with universal credit and welfare reform changes, 65% of our income was at risk, because that was currently paid to us directly by customers, by housing benefits, and that was obviously going to go to customers who we then had to go and collect the rent off. So there's a huge shift in the business model, and to survive as a business, we needed to protect that 65% that has been coming onto us as housing benefit that is no longer going to do so under universal credit. So what we've done, we've invested in, again, both Amina and Neil have mentioned investing in technology, and you have to do that, and you have to have a very strong platform to start from to be able to roll out the technology to enable these things to happen. So we've introduced a number of services to our customers. Our biggest investment has been around our app and our customer portal. Our app, we've developed, we have QLarian as our housing management system and First Touch as our mobile solution, and those two systems integrate with each other, but also integrate with our other systems like OptiTime and document management systems. But our app and our portal reflect each other and behave in exactly the same way. So we developed the app with First Touch, and it does everything that our approach was. What do customers contact us for? And that's what we've made available on the app. It's quick, it's easy, it's available. And our portal then mirrors what the app does. And if a customer has a log on for the app, they have a log on for the portal, and vice versa. Both provide real-time information to customers. Both are fully integrated, and the real-time information passes back into between the two. It's not just one way, it is both way. We've also introduced another things. Live chat is a lot of people use live chat. It's very, very popular. Again, it's very popular for us. We have an automated line which includes automated payment lines, and that's taken 90+% of those types of calls away from our customer services team. And we also invested in. We were given we were lucky that we were given a position to try some different things. So we also tried having digital services on digital TV and games consoles, so the customers who have that wanted to transact with us that way had that ability to do so. And again, that proved very successful for us. We've also amended and reduced some of our services, which is probably the most painful part about the move to digital and putting some digital first strategies. But we did a lot of research with our customers, and we found that just short of 90% of our customers had access to the internet. There was a big misconception, if you like, that social housing don't do internet, and social housing don't have internet, and social housing customers can't use the internet. And we kind of blew all of those out of the water, because we've spoken to pretty much all of our households now, and almost 90% of them have access to the internet. Some of those are very proficient and comfortable. A small proportion need a little bit more help. And then we have 10% of our customers who don't have access to the internet at all. So what we tended to do was we've looked at those customers, and I hate the word, but we've banded them. We've put them into aspects based on their digital ability, from band 1 having no access and band 4 being access and comfortable, and a couple in between for different reasons. And on that, we've then got a piece of software that sits between our telephone system and our housing management system. So it will know that I'm ringing up, it will know what band I'm in, and it will do different things depending on what band you're in. Band 1, which is our no access customers and vulnerable customers, go straight to the top of the queue for our customer services team. Band 4, on the other hand, will wait longer and all the time be reminded that what they need, what they can do online. And actually, we want those customers to abandon and go and do it online. We want wait time, because we're building that in, because we want our band 1 customers to speak to us first. And then we also want the average talk time to be longer, because when customers do get through, we need to spend that time speaking and sorting out their issues. We've also taken away our free phone number and have just the 0303 number. And again, like Neil, we no longer have manned receptions. Our reception is now self-serve for check-in, both for customers and visitors, and also the portal is made available, but will be made available within our reception areas. For those customers who haven't got access to the internet, we've provided a device through our Open, it's called Open Digital, which is in partnership with O2. We provide customers with a device, and for £5 a month they get a gig of data that's capped. And as part of the deal, we kind of get £45 in a hardware fund, which we can spend towards the devices, and we've sourced a £90 device with O2. So therefore, for £100 you can get a customer online, and they then transact with us through that way. And of the 10% that haven't got access, we've rolled, it says 260 there, it's just short of 300 now, those devices out to customers, which has enabled them to transact with us digitally, but has then also opened up other benefits to being online, shopping online, social inclusion, financial inclusion, and health and well-being aspects as well. Just a few results, if you like, of what we've seen so far. So as at the end of August this year, our contact via digital has increased to 60%. Our customer-led transactions, bearing in mind our target is 90% by next year, is currently running at 84%. Live chat, we have somewhere between 600 and 800 live chat conversations a month. The biggest impact for us has been the decrease in incoming calls. So our call rates have gone down, as you can see, from just short of 8,000 to round about the 2,000 mark a month. And that's enabled us to restructure that team, and those resources we can then reinvest in then collection and supporting vulnerable customers, which we need. A spin-off of that was we've also seen a reduction in outgoing calls back to customers, where calls were going back and to, again, something Neil mentioned earlier in his presentation, and our face-to-face visits, particularly reception visits, again, have reduced by a quarter almost. That's just a quick kind of snapshot of some of what's going on with our digital strategy in terms of, almost 100% of our rent balance inquiries now are digital. Incoming calls have reduced by 70%, almost 42% of our repairs are now requested online, over 60% of ASB, and satisfaction with the service is running at 93%. And again, like Amina was discussing, we've invested internally as well with culture and devices. All of our, everybody has 2 devices, whatever they need to do their job. We're not prescriptive about that. We have a number of platforms, we have a number of solutions. And again, some of that's down to preference, needs of the business and preference. Or everybody has mobile working that is real time. So the need to, we've reduced admin, we've reduced travel time, and savings of between 30 and 45 minutes per visit. As I say, satisfaction is running at 93 to 95% with our digital services. Overall satisfaction with us as a business has not reduced at all. Our complaints haven't gone up, and there's much more kind of cross-sectional working within the business. For customers, as I've already mentioned, digital inclusion, financial inclusion, health and well-being, job search, much more social inclusion in terms of keeping in touch with customers, each other and friends and family. So there's a lot of customer benefits other than transacting, being able to transact in a way that works for them at a time that's convenient as well. Culture's been mentioned a few times, and again, we've invested very heavily in our culture. We've just moved into our new office, although we're not allowed to call it an office, our new workspace where we're literally all under one roof now. We've gone from 6 to 2 to 1, so that we're all together. Again, it's all drop spaces, no allocated spaces, hot desking, clear desking. Anybody can literally work anywhere with the devices they've got. We've also invested in Office 365, software as a service. We've gone managed services and cloud as well, just to enable that full flexibility and the ability to work anywhere. We have a very strong ethos about work something you do, not somewhere you go, and you don't have to be in a physical office to be working. And it's about needs of the business and what works as a business and as for you personally with your team. And again, that's just that end piece there is around. We do run some sessions around explaining further what we've done on our digital first agenda. And that's me done. Thanks, Martin.
Aaron, there are loads of questions. There are loads of questions coming in right now for our panelists. So please, because I think we're going to run out of time a little bit here, if you can address them in the question and answer box, that'll be very helpful, because there's certainly a very engaged audience and lots of questions coming in. So Ben, it's over to you next. And yeah, again, because we're running out of time, if you wouldn't mind sticking to that 7 or 8 minutes, that would be very much appreciated. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ben Folds, Solutions Consultant at IP Solutions. I work mainly with housing associations and non-for-profit organisations. I'm sure I met many of you at the National Housing Federation conference in Birmingham last week, or have met you at some point. But for those who don't know me, or IP Solutions, we bring businesses and communications technology together to make them more accessible, more responsive and more effective. As a company, we work primarily with large and mid-sized UK enterprises, and we are recognised as leaders in the deployment of unified communications and contact centre solutions. Today, I'd like to speak about agility in housing services from a technical standpoint and address how it can help providers respond to a continually changing environment. In my presentation, we will be looking at the current state of transformation across industries and specifically within your sector. Personally working in this sector, I'm aware that there may be some digital transformation weariness, so I hope this doesn't immediately put you off. It is somewhat of an uncomfortable but inevitable truth in this and all sectors really, so I hope we can ease some of that weariness during today's session. I'm also going to talk about the various challenges housing providers face on a daily basis that hinders your ability to meet organisational mission and regulatory requirements, and how having the right technology in place can provide the answer to agility questions. And also how one of our housing clients, Wandel, has managed the process of adopting cloud-based services to better meet their multifaceted challenges. Every day, more and more businesses are waking up to the fact that they need to embrace digital innovation. It's not an easy concept to face. Transformation involves an often painful process of moving away from the old and embracing the new, whether it be new systems, new applications, or new processes. In the housing sector specifically, we're seeing a conflict between providers accepting that digital technologies are a critical part of their future, which is your 84% statistic, yet feeling that they're a long way off from being digital, 39%, and reaping the benefits of being a digital organisation. I'm sure that those stats don't come as a massive surprise to many of you on here, but we must ask that question: why is it that 84% recognise the need, but only 39% are a digital business or see themselves as a digital business? What's stopping the rest? I suppose there is this preconception that due to the pace of change in the sector, transforming digitally will lead you to invest in technology that you may later regret, as it no longer meets the needs it was initially introduced for. But the fact is that new technology is inherently agile, it is inherently future-proof, and inherently scalable. So that leads us to the big question we'll address across this presentation: how do you get there? So what are the challenges? Now, it would be remiss, I suppose, of me to assume that all housing associations face the same challenges. For example, many London housing associations have a lack of properties or the right type of properties. Other areas of the country have a surplus of houses and are competing for tenants. But for the purpose of this webinar, let's look at some of the more common challenges that housing providers face that could be addressed with greater agility. Let's start with the regulatory challenge. Anyone who's worked in housing for a length of time will have already seen a raft of changes in this area, I'm sure. Then there's the continual threat of the unexpected. This can be any incident that disrupts day-to-day operations, from an individual tenant issue to a major issue that affects all residents. No matter how much contingency planning is done, these incidents will always provide a test to your processes. Thirdly, there's the challenge of adapting to the tenants themselves and their changing communication habits. 15, 20 years ago, if a tenant had a problem, I expect that they would ring your call centre or maybe come into your office in person. Now tenants are used to contacting all sorts of businesses and service providers by email, by text, or by web chat. The fourth challenge is how you're using tenant data. GDPR is imminent. All businesses need to be sure that they're adapting to data best practices, or else pay the consequences. If a tenant asks you to supply or destroy any data, you must know where it's located and how you can access it in a timely manner. Then there's waste management. I suppose this takes on various guises, and some it's not relevant to all housing associations, I'm sure. But it does seem to come up as a key challenge for lots of the organisations that I speak to. To make the wider point, it's about understanding how best to communicate. Transactional communication is acceptable in some cases, for example, waste management. However, a tenant with a debt issue following welfare reform in their area who's having difficulty managing the finance will no doubt need a conversation with someone skilled in the area. A transactional message or communication via text or email won't be sufficient in that scenario. So it's understanding how and when to communicate in the most appropriate way. And finally, there's disaster recovery. You never know when a situation will arise that requires your technology to be flexible and responsive and accessible wherever you are. So what approach can housing providers adopt to address these challenges? Fundamentally, it's about agility, an agile mindset, agile processes, and agile technology. Challenges in your sector seem to change frequently, and pressures increase in varying areas, from welfare reform and increased debt management to social pressures and consolidation and everything in between, all whilst trying to maintain the well-being and expectations of your tenants. We've recently seen 2 housing associations have their viability rating from V1 to V2, which has seemed to heighten the focus in your sector on a good balance sheet and good communications to ensure the governance and viability ratings are retained. The changes and pressures are unlikely to stop. I suppose that's a given. However, being agile can support your ability to react accordingly. So there are 5 key attributes that make an agile organization. They are flexibility, being flexible to changes small and large, whether a tenant has a particular set of circumstances or if there's a change in government regulation, you must have the flexibility to adapt built into how you operate. Rapid response. Slow processes inevitably lead to a backlog, putting more stress on housing staff and irritating tenants. You must be set up to respond immediately, regardless of whether it's a tenant request or a major issue. Speed matters. Scalability. I'm sure many of you have experienced scenarios whereby you have an increase in calls from 30 to 40%, whether that's expected or unexpected. The question is, are you able to scale up rapidly to manage these spikes in activity and then scale back down accordingly? Integration. With housing associations typically having such varied services, I suppose it's natural that there are technologies that are disparate to each other. Integrating where appropriate will reduce the duplication of effort, and it should increase efficiency and generally have a more joined up and unified approach. And simplification, you should be able to access your data easily. You should be able to communicate across multiple departments seamlessly, and you should be able to access the information you need to report effectively. So if the goal is to be agile, then what technology can help you find this level of agility? Here are the 5 solutions that I would recommend. Connectivity. I was slightly reserved to start with this, as it probably seems slightly obvious and, let's be honest, somewhat boring. But don't think about it. Think about it as a utility. Think of it as an enabler. Connectivity underpins everything you do. Fast and scalable business-grade internet. You can adopt. By using that, you can adopt new and advanced cloud-based solutions quickly and easily without your systems falling over, which makes life easier for your staff and dramatically improves tenant outcomes. Omnichannel. This ties back to the concept I discussed a moment ago of being where your tenants want you to be. If a query can be solved through your website or via an automated message, then it saves the tenant a call and relieves some of the pressure from your contact center staff. But it's also the ability to manage that centrally. So Omnichannel is bringing together those various forms of communication and enabling an organization to manage it and report on it effectively. CRM integration and call logging. Your CRM should sit behind every tenant communication you have. It shouldn't matter if the call is relating to debt management, waste repairs, or when someone calls your agent, they should immediately be able to have their details and call history. As the incoming phone call should talk to the CRM solution and should find the customer record. So when the agent does answer, they're up to speed and doesn't need to ask 20 questions before they can deal with the query. You also need the ability to consolidate databases easily. For example, should you take over a new facility or merge with another provider, having an integrated CRM system helps to make sure all records are up to date, helping you to meet compliance requirements. Hosted VoIP, for those not familiar with the jargon, and it is jargon, this is essentially voice over internet. Think Skype or some other online conferencing software like the one we have been using today. Switching from the traditional PBX systems to an internet-based calls opens up a range of benefits from liability, cost saving, screen sharing, etc. It's also easier for call recording and analytics. By design, it's an agile solution. And then inbound capabilities. You want your agents to be able to deal with queries as quickly and efficiently as possible. Using tools consistently routing to the most appropriate representative helps to resolve queries quicker. It also avoids getting the caller irritated from being passed around multiple agents. And by using call recording, it means it meets certain compliance. A robust inbound solution is especially critical during times of crisis where calls and inquiries are coming thick and fast. And it doesn't need to be complex. The technology can be deployed extremely quickly and doesn't impact your existing infrastructure. And to give a short example of how this approach has worked in practice, I'll briefly talk to you about one of our customers, Wandle Housing Association. Wandle is one of the largest housing associations in London, working across 9 boroughs, encompassing more than 7,000 homes. They found that a growing number of residents are using more than just phone calls to contact them and set about exploring how they could deliver a joined up customer experience to the best possible, at the best possible value for money. So to put it bluntly, Wandle's position was that there was a perception from tenants and others in the sector that their service to their tenants wasn't the best. By embracing the technology available to them and having multiple channels managed centrally, they're able to increase their not only the efficiencies within the contact centre, but also the levels of service they're offering to their tenants. The omni-channel solution brought together all those different communications and helped them to achieve a greater level of support and service. They also had an incident when one of their sites is based in London Bridge, and during a recent crisis in that area, I'm sure you guys are all aware of, they were able to effectively operate their contact centre remotely and had no downtime during a period of time when they had 3 days where their offices were cordoned off. And that's about 130 contact centre staff that were affected, but they still managed to operate as they would do had they been still based within that office environment. So the key point I'd like you to take away from all of this session is that embracing digital isn't as scary as it seems, or it shouldn't be. We've already touched on the fact that the appetite for digital transformation is there. The reluctance is the pace of change in your sector, and that investing time, money and resource into something could leave you trapped with redundant technology. But that pace of change isn't going to stop, as we've said. Fortunately, new technology is inherently agile, and in many cases can simply overlay what you have already invested in. It negates the risk associated with traditional on-premise IT and communications infrastructures. So start with the customer experience that you want to provide to your tenants, then work back to enable your agents to deliver that service through agile technology solutions. And the outcome is simple: better customer experience, better use of your stretched resources, and greater ability to react to the unexpected while still meeting compliance requirements. I'm happy to discuss or explain any of these points in greater depth and look forward to your questions. If you would like to connect with me, please feel free to reach out via any of the channels you can see on the slide. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Ben. Much appreciated. And yeah, absolutely, the details are on the screen. I think there have been details for various people as we've been going along, so please fire them through. And I know I can see from our questions box that a lot of the questions are being picked up as we go along. So yeah, thank you all to our panelists for picking up on the question. And there's Ben, there's one just in for you, so I'll let you answer that while I fire the first question. Another member of our panel, so we'll run on for another 10 minutes just to get some of the questions in. So the first question I wanted to ask was, how do you manage internal skill shift during digital transformation? That was from Carolyn Brown, and I will ask that of Carol first, if that's okay.
Okay, we've spent quite considerable time once we started our digital first strategy. We rolled it out to absolutely everybody so people understood what it was. We've included everybody in why we're doing it, what we're doing. We give people the opportunities to share how they feel about that. Some people have, as with any change, some people grab it by the scruff of the neck and go with it. Some people will give it a go and feel their way through it, and others are quite reluctant. And I think it's about understanding people, where people are, what they want out of the end of it. And we've done different things. We've obviously there's training. We have digital champions. We assist with the various technology itself. And then there are some people that just go, you know, this isn't for me. And we look at what that then means for them as an individual, as a business. So we've tried to understand where people are, where they want to be, and offered a number of channels, if you like, for people to either upskill or to change or ultimately to exit the business if it's not for them anymore. So we've invested quite a lot of time within the business improvement team. We have a lot of support for both customers and internal colleagues to move with the change. We've taken that into the business improvement team alongside the ICT team, so that it's an end user. All my business improvement team came from the business, so they've talked to people as other business users, not necessarily in techie speak.
So yeah, same question to Ben, if that's all right. So how do you manage internal skill shift during digital transformation? And Ben, there's another question that's just come up from John Clark, which is, do you apply agile project management methodology in all your work with other organisations? So if you wouldn't mind addressing that one as well, that would be very helpful. Thanks.
Not at all. I mean, the transformation piece, the implementation of anything new, anything different, has to be managed accordingly, and it has to involve various elements or various divisions within any organisation to ensure that when that change does happen, it is adopted in the most effective way with the minimum of disruption. So I suppose it's ensuring that you have enough of an understanding about what not only what the requirements are, what the initial project is, but also how that's going to impact others across an organisation. Does that answer the question? Okay, have I got the point there?
Very much. And I'll just move on to another question that was asked earlier by John Clark, who's been keeping lots of questions coming in. Thanks very much, John. And please comment in the questions box if that answered your question or not, and keep them coming in. So yeah, what I wanted to ask was this question that John asked Amina earlier. You mentioned about reviewing services from other organisations. What industries outside of housing have you focused on primarily? And I think I'll probably enlarge on that a little bit. So to what extent is housing good at engaging, outside of its own sector? And to what extent could it do more? So, Amina, given the question was directed at you, I'll come to you first on that, then I'll move to Neil, and probably Ben, I'll come back to you at the end of that.
Yep. I think we take inspiration from all services, really. So whether when we designed our booking system for repairs in 2011, we did that based on the Ocado model. When we revamped our payment methods, we based that on Amazon, and we wanted to be as easy as Amazon for people to make payments. We looked at Virgin US sites to look at how we can make our website really attractive to people. We've been working with Sky to think about how we can develop our bot strategy and what they're doing. We took inspiration from Transport for London in terms of their nudging model when they were going to cashless buses and using their Oyster card. So I say, as a service user in my day job, I look at what I enjoy and what people are doing. I scan their horizon constantly, and I think just go and have a trawl around the internet and you'll see loads of great examples. So look out for it as a user of services as well as a designer of services, and look for the people you think are doing it brilliantly and ask yourself how you could do it as well, if not better.
Yeah, we're a participant as well as providers here. Neil, same question to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can really add much different to what Amina said, really. I mean, we do very, very similar things. When we designed our residence portal, when we worked with Orchard and others, we looked at what our customers would be using in their daily lives, in interacting with other companies and other organisations, and we tried to take the best from that. I guess another example is we were looking for an email archiving solution, and our approach to that was, okay, well, not what other housing associations are using, but what are banks using? What are they using to keep their emails secure, to ensure that the threats, the viruses, Trojans, etc., aren't coming through, and yet provide a really robust solution. And so we adopted Mimecast, which has given us a number of benefits. But it's that kind of approach, really. What's the problem? What's the best solution out there for us at a time? And we take inspiration across a range of sectors. We will say, what did John Lewis do in terms of customer services? But we also look at disruptors. So whether it's Netflix or Uber or whoever else we might be looking at, Airbnb, what is it that they do differently, and how can we adopt some of that technology? So what is it that makes them disruptive in their particular industry, and how can we adopt some of that ourselves?
Thanks very much. And Ben, I'll round off with you if that's okay. And just a feel for how good housing is at looking more widely and taking inspiration from elsewhere. And there was a question from Rob Emery as well that if you wanted to address, which was how do you engage with hard-to-reach groups as well? How do you make sure that it's inclusive for everybody?
Sorry, am I answering the previous question or this one?
Address that last one. That would be great as well. But I think that has been picked up on the questions and answers. So yeah.
Yeah. So who do we work with and who inspires us? Any sector obsessed with customer experience. We work with a lot of retail sectors. We work with which, for example, Secret Escapes, a lot of travel and tourism seem to be obsessed with making sure that their customer experiences in these particularly crowded markets are managed, I suppose, above and beyond what their competitors can do. I think it does tend to be slightly more challenge, I feel, in the housing association sector, given the demands, not from necessarily the tenants so much, but the wider pressures from wherever else it may come from, and the reactory position that housing associations sometimes feel themselves put into, that they have to adapt to certain hot topics that might not necessarily be that hot in a year or 18 months' time.
Sorry, do you think the sector's quite reactive at the moment, and how do you think it kind of moves to the next level, if you like?
I think the sector is very reactive, and I think it has to be. How to move to remain reactive as needed is to be agile, to adopt technologies that aren't that disruptive to their organisation, to their processes, and to their the current way of doing things, and to the people that work there, who are ultimately the guys on the front line. By consuming or setting yourself up to be able to consume small elements of much larger pieces of technology that already exist, it puts organisations in a position to be able to be very reactive and to move quite quickly. And we keep banding the word around agile, but that's what it comes down to: is the ability to be agile by taking advantage of what the technology and the things that are already out there.
Right. Well, thank you very much, and that's a really interesting point to end on. We've run over a little bit, but hopefully that's given us an opportunity to address all of the questions thoroughly. And I'd like to thank our panelists, A, for some fascinating presentations today, but B, both in the question and answer session and through the question and answer box, for addressing lots and lots of questions today. And like Ben was saying, there's the address up there to get in touch if you've got some more. So yeah, thank you again to all of our panelists, and for a really enjoyable and thought-provoking session. And thanks to IP Solutions, and hope you enjoyed it.